Everything we've talked about so far, tariffs, trade deals, reshoring, realignment, that's the policy layer. But underneath it all is something deeper, an ideological war. Trump didn't just break trade norms. He declared war on the founding of the idea of globalism, that interdependence guarantees peace. And for the first time in decades, someone said, no, it just guarantees dependence. For decades, globalists told us that if we integrated the world economically, nations wouldn't want to go to war. They said it would make everyone richer, safer, smarter. That was the promise from Davos, from Brussels, from the World Bank, from The Economist, from every administration since Reagan. It wasn't just policy, it was doctrine. And in their version of the world, sovereignty was outdated. Borders were a hassle, manufacturing was inefficient, nationalism was a threat. The perfect world was one where ideas, money, and products moved across borders faster than people or governments could react. Then Trump came in and said, the emperor has no clothes. Let's talk about who that threatened. Number one, the Davos class. The political and financial elite, who meet every year in Switzerland to talk about inclusive growth, they hated Trump, not because of his attitude, but because he rejected their entire framework. He didn't care about ESG indexes. He didn't want stakeholder capitalism. He wanted American factories, American workers, and American leverage. He said what they wouldn't. Globalism is a luxury America can't afford anymore. Number two, the Euro-Atlantic bureaucracy, the EU, NATO, IMF, WTO, they all operate on the assumption that the U.S. will lead by consensus. Well, Trump flipped that. He told NATO, pay your share or we leave. He told the WTO, your rulings don't matter if they hurt the U.S. workers. He told Paris climate crowd, we won't commit to emission cuts while China builds coal plants. And most importantly, he backed it all with action. He withdrew from TPP. He froze U.S. funding to the WHO. He moved the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem without asking anyone's permission. And he turned bilateral pressure into a global realignment strategy. His own opposition at home? Let's be honest, Washington isn't just divided by party. It's divided by worldview. Even in his own party, there were people who thought Trump's moves were reckless. But here's the irony. Joe Biden kept almost all of Trump's major trade policies. Tariffs on China, they stayed. Buy American rules, expanded. Reshoring incentives, increased. CHIPS Act, modeled on Trump's goals. They didn't want to admit it, but they adopted the blueprint because the alternative was going back to a world that no longer exists. Even Biden's national security strategy in 2022 quietly acknowledged that America's supply chains are vulnerable and resilient sourcing is a national security issue. In other words, Trump was right. So what happens when the globalist class loses credibility? Well, they start to panic. You'll hear words like isolationism, protectionism, economic nationalism. You'll hear that America is abandoning its allies. You'll hear that this is a dangerous turn inward. But here's the truth. America isn't isolating itself. It's prioritizing itself. There is a difference. We're still engaging, still trading, still leading. We're just no longer doing it as the world's safety net. And here's the line Trump drew, and it's changed everything. We don't owe the world anything. We owe our citizens everything. It's that sentence, not any speech or tweet, that drew the deepest divide between Trump and the globalist model. And now, that sentence has become policy.